Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 10th episode of the True Talks podcast. Dang, it's already been 10 episodes. That's actually kind of crazy. Today, I'm going to be talking briefly about how teaching has been going. That's pretty much the only thing that I've been doing as of late because it's so tiring. I'm going to be talking about that. Oh, also, to note, the usual stuff. The gameplay on the screen that you see is indeed my own. And it's also not required to understand what I'm talking about. It's just there as a visual to watch if you want to, but you don't need to watch it to understand what I'm talking about. So if you want to put this on in the background, you'll understand just fine without watching. And also the age rating for these is around a mild PG-13. Like, that's about where I'm keeping it at. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to be talking about kind of how teaching has been going lately. Then I'm going to be talking about, actually, how I feel about the Simpsons TV series, because I actually just watched, like, as odd as it might seem, it's the first time I've ever seen any of the Simpsons other than it being on in, like, the background occasionally. It's the only time I've ever actually watched it seriously. I just kind of have been throwing it on when I get home lately. The second topic I'm going to be talking about is actually bringing back Among Us, because the Nintendo Direct new map announcement kind of reminded me of Among Us, and I've been watching. I haven't been playing it myself, but I've been watching people play it and kind of reminiscing about that time period where Among Us was like huge. So I'm going to be talking about that. The special segment, I'm going to be talking about the Nintendo Direct that happened, I believe it was September 14th, I want to say, if I'm doing my math correctly. It was either the 14th or the 13th, I can't remember. It must have been the 14th. Yeah, it would have been the 14th. I'll be talking about that and my thoughts on it. And then my final topic of the day is going to be talking about my favorite parts of each season of the year, which is a very vague topic, but it'll make sense when we get there. Like talking about like fall, winter, spring, and summer, and what I like kind of about each, and what I look forward to, like just to kind of get an idea of what some of my favorite times of the year are. But first, teaching. Teaching has been going a lot better. Like, at first, I was not so sure. Like, I just felt my confidence totally just dissipate, like, after my first week. Like, I just had a lot of imposter syndrome. I just thought I was bad at it, and like, just because it is a learning process, and it's really hard your first time doing it, because even though you do student teaching in school, you never get to experience having full control of a classroom of kids until you are there doing it for the first time. And it's like, they, generally speaking, will not be giving you any leeway, or like they won't lower their expectations for you because you're new. Like, they don't really, like, some of the older kids kind of understand that it's hard coming in for the first time, and they can imagine how difficult it is to figure all that stuff out at once. But especially like younger kids, it's like they aren't going to give you any benefit of the doubt. And I think I talked about that a little bit in the last episode, and it was really, really bugging me, because I felt like I wasn't doing a very good job, and everything I would do that was to like try to catch up was just not working. But now this week, it feels like things have finally started to click, and the only thing that I am stressed about so far, one, is to a degree the homecoming parade. I'm not too worried about it because there's not that much stock put into it. It's like, it's a pretty quick performance that will only last probably about 15-20 minutes, maybe like a half an hour. I don't know. It's not going to be like that. It's not nearly as big as like a concert or anything. And the community the community just expects us to go out and perform. It's not like it's a big high stakes performance. I kind of put a lot of stock into it because I want to eventually have a marching band. Like, I want to build a marching band here myself, and the homecoming parade is kind of how I'm gonna sell the idea to administration. But even still, as long as, like, from where we're at right now, I feel very comfortable with where we're at in regards to music and marching and all of that, and I think it'll go just fine. Like, I am not concerned about it whatsoever. The one thing that I'm really stressed about is getting instruments out to the younger classes, the 5th grade, like the first, like the beginning band kids who don't have instruments as their first time on instruments. It's just a logistical nightmare, and I have been racking my brain all weekend on how I'm going to do it, because tomorrow is the day that they're going to get their instruments for the first time, and I've been trying really hard to think of an efficient and clean way to do it, I guess I would describe it, and I just have not been able to think of it. The class that I have is extremely big. Like, it is my biggest band, even including, like, the bands that I have are 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th and 8th combined, and then 9 through 12. My 5th grade alone is bigger than my 7 and 8 band, which is actually insane. And it's like I can handle, like, people give junior high kids such a bad rap, but honestly, they're just kids that are full of energy, and if you can kind of skew their energy towards using it for good instead of non-productive things, like, especially when I have sorry, I ate buffalo chips before this, I just inhaled some of the dust. Especially, I have them their first hour of the day, so it's like they're still tired. So it's like it's pretty much fine with, like, I have 63-ish junior high kids, and it's really not that bad. It's honestly really fun because I can meet them at their level, and when, like, I've been able to get a really good amount of engagement out of them and get a lot of like musicality back from them because they listen and respond so well to what I tell them to do. But the issue is when I have 5th grade, it's like I have even more of them. I probably have like 65 kids in there, and it is rough because junior high, at least at that point, most of them are bought into band because it's not required for them to do music at that age level at this school. Most of them are bought into the idea and don't have to be, like, convinced that what they're doing is worthwhile, and, like, they already have that internal motivation to make music, and they want to be good because they understand, like, how much better it feels to put work in and get something out of it. Whereas 5th grade, I have probably about 5 to 10. It makes it harder with, like, rule making, like setting ground rules, because generally I truly believe that I should be able to get the class's attention without raising my voice, because I can just visually I can step up onto the podium, they see me, that raise in level, and their attention snaps there. That's still a work in progress even for the older grades, but it's been getting better and it's been working because they are internally motivated and they want to be good. 5th grade, on the other hand, there's about 5 to 10 kids who I do not think even care, like, they could not care less. Like, if I explained to them, like, okay, the reason you need to be quiet with me is because if you're quiet, it'll give us all more time to work and focus on practicing our music, because every time I have to stop the class to get you all to be quiet, that's practice time that's being taken away. There are about 5 to 10 kids in there who would just be like, who cares? Like, I could not care less if I'm creating a distraction. Honestly, that just makes it so we have to do less work. So it makes it more fun. Like, it's like that's the mindset that some of them have, and they won't really get that sort of drive to be better, I don't think, until probably after the fear of the first concert sets in. So it's just going to be really crazy, because it's like I have to get instruments out to, well, I don't have to get instruments out to everyone, because one, not everyone has signed their waiver, and I cannot give them a school rented instrument without the waiver being signed by their parents, saying that they agree to whatever, and so on and so forth. But there are also kids who are bringing their own, so that helps. But I have to teach, it's like 65 kids at once, and I have to teach like 12 at a time, because I have to teach like the flute section how to put their instrument together and try to help them create their first sound while everyone else is just kind of chilling. And it's like that just doesn't work for that age group, and it's just a nightmare, because it's like when they're in that beginning stage, it's like there's nothing that applies to everyone that I can teach everyone at the same time. Like, I can teach posture and like general rehearsal etiquette, but I can't teach everyone how to put their instruments together at the same time, because everyone's going to just get confused if I try to do that. Like, if I try to teach the flutes quick how to do their thing, show off how to do that, then I show a clarinet and I only spend about 30 seconds on each, they're not going to understand or process how that was actually done. Yeah, it's just, I just kind of have it come to accept that it's going to be a logistical nightmare, and I really don't have a really clean plan on how to do it. That's the one thing that I'm concerned about. I'm almost settled into a routine. I had my best class yet with my 6th graders. They had been a little more difficult, like, more just because they're so full of energy. They come back from lunch, like, not to give them an excuse or anything, but they come back for, like, they come directly to me from lunch, so it's like they just ate and they are ramped up and ready to go. So it's like it's their energy high of the day when they come to my classroom. And there is a good number there's 43 of them, I think. So it's hard, but again, they're starting to understand what I want from them rehearsal etiquette wise, and because they already have a year of band under their belts, they understand the why we need to be, like, they need to be with me at all times. They understand why that is a lot more than a 5th grader would. And it's like, I had my best day yet with them on Friday, and genuinely had fun making music with them that day, because I didn't have to spend half the class trying to get their attention. And yeah, everything has really started to settle down except 5th grade, and 5th grade is going to be one more week before they settle really into a routine, because I want to get their lessons set up for next week, and once they have individual lessons, I can start to teach them the basics of their instrument without being afraid that, like it's like if I try to teach the brass how to properly buzz a note on their mouthpiece, I'm gonna have half the class that is not doing anything and just has to kind of sit there and hang out. And it's tough because there's no way for me to teach them both at the same time, if that makes sense. That's the hardest part about teaching beginning band, and it's going to be rough for another week in 5th grade, but at least everything else has calmed down a lot, and we've started to settle into a routine. High school is going to be a little weird this week because it's homecoming week, so there's assemblies like every other day. Legitimately, every other day I have like cut or no class time with the high schoolers because they're the last hour of the day, but I'm not concerned about where they're at. Everything has been going really swimmingly and progressing much better. My hopes have been restored, kind of, after the second week. The second week was much better than the first. And again, I just kind of have to accept that 5th grade is going to be chaos for another week, because once I can work with them individually and I can fully help them immerse themselves in their instruments and help them to figure out how to play them better and meet with them in a more personal context, it will make it so much easier to catch them up if they're behind, or like help, like see where they're at more so, really. Whereas in the full band context, I kind of have to just speed through everything because I have probably about 2 minutes before the entire room erupts in something. But yeah, it's been going much better, which I'm sure some of you are relieved to hear. But anyways, that probably is enough of that topic. I really haven't been doing much else other than teaching. Like I said, it's very, very exhausting. Like, I get home and pretty much sit on my ass the rest of the day. I get home from class. I've been getting home earlier, which is super nice. Like, the first week I stayed after school until probably about 5 every single day. Lately, I've only been staying after until like 4 to 4:30 before I end up going home, because there's not quite as much that I have to get done, which is nice. But even still, when I get home, I just hit a brick wall. Granted, I haven't been eating lunch, which is probably why, and for those of you who that might concern, I ate lunch I finally managed to fit lunch in my schedule just on Friday, and that day just went so much better. I had way more energy for the second half of the day when I ate lunch. So, it makes sense, but I just didn't think I could fit it into my schedule. I thought I had too much going on. And I had been using those, like, 30 minutes that I have for lunch to just kind of breathe for a bit, because it's right after 5th grade and before 6th grade. So, and that was the day that I had a more positive experience with 6th grade too, so maybe the eating helps my attitude as well. Yeah, maybe I was just hangry every other day. I don't know. But yeah, when I get home, I just hit a brick wall. There have been a few times. Well, there was one day, I think it was Tuesday last week. I felt really bad about it because normally I text my girlfriend pretty much the entire time after I get home. And that day I got home and I think I fell asleep at about 5:30 or 6 o'clock and woke up at 8:30-ish, with just enough time to like text her and like respond to her last text, and then I passed out for the rest of the night. Like, I legitimately slept probably 12 hours that night, and I get up at 5:30. So it's exhausting, but at least I don't feel it until I get home, which is nice, because I would rather feel it and hit that wall when I get home than hit it in the middle of the day and have to kind of push through it and try to teach through that, like, wall that I hit. Yeah, I pretty much come home, sit on YouTube, eat dinner, have a snack, and that's about it. But yeah, as I was saying, my next topic is about The Simpsons, and honestly, just how much it surprised me. Like, I had never legitimately watched it before, and because my only real experience with adult-centric cartoons is Family Guy and seeing clips of South Park, so I just expected The Simpsons to just be, like, really dumb humor. But honestly, I've only watched probably like 5 or 6 episodes, but so far it's like really impressed me with just how smart it is. Like, I don't know. I don't know how better to describe it. Like, it's actually, one, smart with its humor, and actually has a bit of depth, like, where it actually tries to give the characters a bit more depth to them, where they actually kind of have a backstory that they're building, and there's legitimately, like, wholesome type moments that aren't just wasted for the sake of comedy, which I was not expecting from, like, a cartoon like that, just because I thought all adult cartoons were going to be like Family Guy, where it's just like dumb, witty humor for 30 minutes or whatever. I think it's like 20, but still, whatever. But yeah, it's definitely, I just threw it on because I was on Disney Plus and I was trying to find something to watch while I ate dinner one day, and it was on my recommended, and I was like, well, might as well, because if I don't pick that, it's gonna take me forever to find something. But it's also really nice just because of the pacing of the episodes. It's like, because each episode is about 20 minutes, which really, that's about how long it takes me to eat a meal. So it's about the perfect amount of time to just sit and hang out and watch a single episode here and there, and like have something to unwind to while I come home and try to relax after the long day of being at school. Yeah, I don't know. There isn't much else for me to say on that. I just wanted to talk about my first time viewer experiences with it, because it didn't like blow me away or anything, but it definitely was a positive experience, and I'm glad I tried it out, because it wasn't a TV show that I really thought I would like, because generally speaking, I don't care that much for dumb comedy. Like, that's exactly why modern SpongeBob has kind of gone down the drain, or gone down the toilet, because they just are relying on dumb humor just at, like, filling an episode full of just dumb jokes, whereas in the first few seasons they were actually trying to give depth and backstory to these characters to actually make you care a bit about them, and then using comedy at the proper times. I'm definitely not a fan of just watching mindless humor for 20 minutes. Although I say that and I sit and watch meme compilations sometimes, but I don't know. That's different, because it's like I know what I'm getting into in the first place, I guess. I don't know. It's different when it's a compilation of 10-second videos that can grasp my attention rather than a 20-minute long episode. But yeah, that's my thoughts on The Simpsons so far. I, again, really like it just because normally shows like that don't grasp my attention like that one did. Like, the first day that I watched it, I think I watched like 3 episodes in a row. I was gonna like watch an episode and get up and make dinner, but then I ended up sitting and watching it for way longer than I intended to, because I actually was enjoying it more than I really thought I would. I think today is gonna probably be a bit of a shorter episode. That's partly why I talked about the current event stuff for so long, but I guess I can start my Among Us ramblings now. Like, Among Us is just really a cultural phenomenon, because some people played it for the meme, some people played it because it's legitimately fun, and some people played it because their friends dragged them into it. Because, one, it's a game that does not take that much skill to just sit down and play. Like, I know there are people who, like, I don't really like the people who play it, quote, competitively. I don't think there's much of that anymore, but it's, like, really annoying, because it pretty obviously, to me, is not meant to be a competitive game. It's just meant to be a fun, silly game that you play in short bursts with your friends or family. Like, it's legitimately a really fun game that, again, it's a game that takes a play or two to get used to, but as soon as you know what you're doing, it's like the tasks, honestly, I don't think people talk about it enough, but the tasks are so well designed. Like, they're all very simplistic, and you pretty much immediately know what you have to do with them because they're done so incredibly well visually that it just immediately directs you in the correct way, like, to know exactly what you have to do to complete the task without needing a tutorial. Like, it's like, card swipe, boom, a card flashes on your screen, and you obviously have to drag it across. The the O2 task in Skeld, where you have to push the leaves in there. It's obvious because the leaves are kind of like taking up your attention, so it's like obvious that you have to control them and drag them. The asteroid one is self-explanatory. You tap where the asteroids are to destroy them. Yeah, like the tasks are just really very well designed because of the fact that they're simple, but they're very simplistic, but not necessarily mind-numbingly simplistic. They kind of are riding the line perfectly, in my opinion. And then there are some that are a little bit like mind-numbing, but they're supposed to be that way because that's the imposter's opportunity to kill you, like Simon Says, or the upload/download tasks. Those are designed specifically to give the imposter an advantage because you're sitting there waiting for a long task to finish, or in Simon Says, it takes up a bit of your attention, but you know what I mean, like those longer tasks that take a bit longer but still take like no thought. It's a very well balanced game, and that's why I think it makes it easy to tell. Like, I've seen a few fan maps, and it's pretty easy to tell a fan map from a legitimate map because generally speaking, I don't think the tasks are as well designed in fan-made maps as they are in the regular game. One thing that I didn't even know was a thing until a few days ago was the mod that adds the some Town of Salem roles into it. As you know, as you probably know, I'm a pretty big Town of Salem fan. I really like playing it. I've only played it really in short bursts, but I still really enjoy that game. And to have the ability to have that in Among Us, I think is super cool. I don't have it on my computer, but I have watched people play it. And it just makes it super interesting and super funny because it just creates so much chaos, which is kind of what Town of Salem is when you first play it. It's like, there are so many roles to learn and you don't understand any of it. And it kind of translates that way perfectly into Among Us, where it's like, people don't really understand what their role is capable of, so they just kind of do whatever with it and try to use the power to the best of their ability. And it leads to some pretty humorous things, like in the beginning when people don't know that there's a role that can just like guess someone's role and kill them immediately in the like meeting. that was always hilarious when like someone didn't know that role was a thing, and they'd be like, yeah, I just transported so and so, and then they just die. But even like base game Among Us, like, it's just, I think it's perfectly balanced. And the fact that they have like adjustable rules, so if you like a bit of chaos and you like a bit of unbalanced gameplay, it's so customizable that you can do that. Like, you can crank the imposter speed all the way up or whatever, crank the imposter vision all the way up, and have a fun time with 3 imposters with 10 people or something. And it's a game that, again, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, both the imposter side and the crewmate side, it's like, the first time you play it, it's like, you don't understand what the heck is going on. But it's like, you play it like 2 times, and it's just a game that you catch on to very quickly, and that's why I really applaud its design. And I am looking forward to the new map. I'm excited for that. I might actually play it, but honestly, playing with randoms online is really annoying in that game. You kind of have to play it. It's a game that, at this point, so many people play it, you kind of have to play with the right people in order to have fun with it. Like, I look at people having fun playing it with their friends on YouTube, but that's when it's like they know everyone in the lobby. And when you go online and play with random people, you have so many boneheaded plays. Like someone pointed out, like, you call an emergency meeting and you legit just say a color, like white vented or something, and they will literally just vote that. Like, white cannot defend against, like, white can't defend against that, because when you just play against randoms, people just believe whatever. Like, people will play incredibly dumb, and when you just play with random people. That's kind of what sucks the fun out of it, is just bad players. I honestly don't mind a bit of trolling, to be honest. There's a degree of it that I like, and then you kind of have to ride that line. Like, people who watch Among Us playthroughs probably have seen, like, Altrive's gameplay. Like, that is, like, perfectly riding the line of, like, a good troll, like, where you're kind of third impostering, but it's not like he's completely turning the game on its head, because if he starts doing dumb stuff, they just vote him off. Like, it's like, it's not a degree of trolling that completely ruins the game for people. Whereas I've been in a lobby where two people were definitely on a call. One person was crewmate, the other was imposter, and the crewmate deliberately was helping the imposter by lying and saying they were cleared and stuff like that, and then we would just lose because... And then they would, like... We would go back into the like, lobby, or, like, the waiting room, whatever you call it, and they would just be laughing in the chat, and it's like, you realize you are having fun, but you're sucking the fun out of, like, everyone else. Like, it is not fun for anyone to play with people like that. It's just, I don't know, the odds that you find a group of people that, like, randomly on Among Us that actually play well and take it serious. Like, you don't want to take it too seriously, because that, again, sucks the fun out of it. But, like, people who are just there to have a good time and play some Among Us is honestly rarer than you might think. You either get in a group of sweats who take it way too seriously, or you get in a group of goofballs who do absolutely nothing. Like, there was one time where this one guy I was playing with, his bit was just running around in circles around the emergency button in cafeteria, and then in a meeting he would just repeat the same phrase over and over again. And the second game that I played in that lobby, I was the imposter and he was the second imposter, and he did not stray from the bit. He just kept doing it. To be fair, because he stuck to the bit, we actually got pretty close to winning, because I think I killed like 3 or 4 people, and they weren't sus of him whatsoever because he was just doing his thing. And then they voted me off, and then he tried to kill, but it was like a very bad kill because people were around. But that's besides the point. I haven't played in probably like a year or two, to be honest. Well, yeah, it's probably been like 2 years since I played last. Like, legitimately, probably 2 years. Yeah. It's been a while since I played some good old-fashioned Among Us, but maybe I should get back on it when that new map drops. I'm pretty pumped about that. Speaking of, that new map was announced in the Nintendo Direct, and I have quite a bit to say about this Nintendo Direct. Not a lot of it is good. It wasn't a bad Direct by any means. It was just, it gave us what we needed, and not really much more than that. I feel like the people who are screaming that this is one of the best Directs of all time are specifically the people who wanted a Thousand Year Door remake. And it's only those people. Because I don't know what else could have possibly come out of this Direct that would have people talking that way. We didn't get, any new announcements whatsoever other than Thousand Year Door and the Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which I think is a remake, but it was hard to tell. I don't know. I think it's a remake, but I don't know. Then they did announce that one, DS puzzle type game that has the sequel that's exclusive to Japan that's getting a remaster, or, yeah. That was pretty cool, but all in all, there was not that many, new announcements. It was just they showed more footage for stuff that we already knew about, which, honestly, partially makes it feel like the Direct was unnecessary because they could have just dropped a trailer for Peach Showtime, or, dropped a trailer for the not Octo expansion, that was Splatoon 2. I don't know what this expansion is called for Splatoon 3. Whatever that expansion is, they could have dropped a trailer for it. And the Thousand Year Door remake, it blew some people away because I know it felt like we were getting either Mario RPG or that one. It didn't feel like we would get, it seemed pretty unlikely we would get both, because they're both kind of the same style of game-ish. But, so it is surprising, and I am happy about it. I will buy it, because I never got to finish Thousand Year Door. I got decently far. I probably played for about 10 hours on the file that I got the furthest on. So I will buy it and hopefully get around to finishing it this time. But you all know how I feel about remakes and remasters. I will say that in general, this is an example of a good remaster, kind of like Mario RPG, because Thousand Year Door is really hard to get your hands on now, because it's never been released on another console other than GameCube, so it kind of was stuck there. So this is an example of a good remaster. However, it wasn't, in a Direct like this, where we got basically no other announcements, it didn't feel like a totally blew me out of the water moment type thing. I'm excited about it, yes, but not, it didn't blow me away, I'd say. I had more thoughts on it, but I can't remember what. On Paper Mario specifically. I don't know. It definitely, people are suspecting that the Switch is slowing down because the new system is coming, and I will say I'm fully sold on that idea now. I am convinced that I have never been one... I always hated when people would just jump on rumors of the next Nintendo console and act like it was coming out, soon all of a sudden, just totally out of the blue. But now I truly do feel like it's coming out next fall, because of the fact that they definitely, this fall, they are going full steam ahead on games like Super Mario Wonder, WarioWare, the Mario RPG remake. All of that is coming out this fall. And the Pokemon DLC, and Detective Pikachu, and others that I'm probably forgetting about. But it definitely feels like they're slowing down in the beginning of next year. Quarter one has never been very big for Nintendo. I know that because as a kid, my birthday is in April, so I would always look for games that were coming out before April to ask for my birthday, and it always seemed like there was like maybe one game for Nintendo consoles, so I just have that to go off of. So quarter one for Nintendo has never been a big one, but because it just feels very reminiscent of the end of the 3DS's life, where we're getting more remasters and remakes than new games, because for 2024 right now, all we have is Peach and the Paper Mario remake and the Luigi's Mansion remake. I feel like there's a game in January I'm forgetting about, but I don't know. It might come to me later. But I think that's all that's announced that's Nintendo Nintendo made that's coming out in the beginning of 2024. And I think that kind of is the sign that we're reaching the end of the Switch's lifespan. It does feel like inevitable because it's been 8 years. No, not 8, 6. I don't know why I can't do math. I literally didn't do math. I just threw the first number that I thought of out. I don't know why I did that. 6 years. It's been 6 years. It will be 7 next year. But yeah, it just feels inevitable. I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a lot, like, kind of like Twilight Princess, where it's going to be on both. I think it'll be that sort of, and Breath of the Wild, I think it'll be like that, where it's on the Switch and the next gen console. And that's why they haven't shown it yet, because it feels like it's gotta be coming soon. They had that Metroid Prime 1 remaster and then never elaborated further. Princess Peach Showtime looks really, really good, though. I honestly am more excited for that than I am for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Simply just because, again, it looks really creative, and, like, the gameplay legitimately looks really fun. Like, the amount of, like, varied gameplay that they put in there, I am super stoked about the let's call it Super Princess Peach. Princess Peach's Showtime. Honestly, that's probably my most anticipated Nintendo game right now. Just because, like, I am excited for Mario RPG and Mario Wonder, but I'm just so busy that those types of games, like, a 2D platformer is probably going to be fine for me, like, time-wise, but an RPG, I probably am not going to end up even finishing, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. That's why I might even wait on that one, but we'll see what happens. I did just order my copy of the physical release of Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Switch, so I'm excited about that. I'll be getting that hopefully this week. That kind of dates this podcast episode again, but you know how these have all been recorded in advance. That releases this Friday, so I'm excited about that. There's more to say about this Direct, but my brain is just completely fried right now. Oh, the Donkey Kong thing. It was leaked that there would be a Donkey Kong game in the Direct, and I believe that leak. I believe that it was true because it leaked the date. It said it would either be Wednesday or Thursday, and it said that there would be something Donkey Kong related and something F-Zero related, which I am inclined to believe. But they could have, again, like, a lot of these leakers just literally throw crap at the wall and hope it sticks, and when it does, they say they suddenly claim to be a valid source, and when it doesn't, they say that their sources were wrong or something like that. It's all BS, but I really do want a new Donkey Kong Country game, so I was a little disappointed, but I already kind of knew going in that it would be something like that. I kind of forgot that the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games were even a thing, because one, Donkey Kong seems like a side character in those to me, so I hadn't really put that thought in my mind. But the other thing that the leaker said was that the Donkey Kong game would be Nintendo made and not Retro Studios, and all of the Nintendo has never personally had their hand in a Donkey Kong Country game. It's been Retro Studios are rare, so I knew it would be something like a little more low-key, like Jungle Beat, or I guess Mario vs. Donkey Kong. It does look fun and interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it, just because, I don't know. The puzzles seem fun, but I had one of the minis, March of the Minis or whatever it was called, on the DS. I had the third one, and again, it was fun, but it just was not like very engaging gameplay wise for me, so I probably am gonna skip out on this one. The other announcement that I kind of forgot about, because it's not a new game by any means, but it's a new like idea with it, is F-Zero 99, and I played it for the first time today, and other than Mario 35, it is probably my favorite like of that style of game that they've done. Like, it is so fun. It's incredibly fun. I haven't won a game yet. I think the highest placement I got is 12th, and you can verify that because well, I guess maybe I've played it more at this point in time when this actually releases, but as of now, the only amount that I've played is the footage I used for episode 4 of the podcast. So you can go back there and figure it out, but I think the highest place I got was somewhere around 12. But it honestly is super fun because the game is so smooth, and it's like, I honestly really enjoyed F-Zero on the SNES just vanilla, because I played it, I had it when they did that promotion on the Wii U where they had the, like, for I think it was a year, they had a different Super Nintendo or NES game for 30 cents, and I got F-Zero during that time, and I ended up beating it, I think. Like, I don't remember like what all beating it actually entails. I don't think I 100%ed it or whatever, like got everything unlocked. I don't remember how the game works, but I at least beat like the full Grand Prix one time. Like, I beat every race once, so I'm decently familiar with the levels. I've played Mute City and Big Blue multiple times already, so it's like I know those levels like the back of my hand. But then you get to some of the other levels. Well, I think they're gonna like do like seasons where they cycle through different levels, but I'm not very familiar with any levels that are not Mute City or Big Blue. So it is interesting to get used to those levels. But it's just such fast-paced and fun gameplay that I think it just works extremely well. I did like Pac-Man 99, but I don't know what it was, but I thought it was my Pro Controller for a while, but I think it's just the controls of that game in particular, where he just would not behave. Like, Pac-Man would, like, not go the direction that I would point the stick, and it would be really, really annoying. So, yeah, that was kind of that with that one. I tried it a couple times, and there were a couple times I placed pretty high, but then there were times that I got screwed because of the controls, so I just kind of quit on that one. But F-Zero is one that I could see, like, just putting on for, like, 30 minutes and having fun with it. I've been having a lot of fun playing it so far, and I think I'll continue. I hope they do that for more games. It would be super fun. Like, bring more classic games back with that whole, like, battle royale idea. I think it's super clever of them to do something like that, to like revive an old game like that. Like do Balloon Fight 99 or something like that. I think that'd be fun. Kid Icarus 99. I think someone said that the only franchise that is not on the Switch now, like isn't represented, is Kid Icarus. But I think now that I think about it, that's a lie because there's no Star Fox. Because I don't think they were counting like the online, like the NES Classic or whatever that you get on by having the online membership. Yeah, but I don't know. The Direct, like I said, to me was just kind of mid. Like I felt like a lot of it was just showing off more of games that they had already announced, and they could have just released those trailers like on just out of the blue on YouTube or something. Like been like, all right, here's the release date trailer for Princess Peach Showtime. Enjoy. Like, I just didn't feel like this Direct was entirely necessary because, again, it was a lot of filler where it was a lot of stuff we already knew about but got like a new trailer for or something. I don't know. It definitely does feel like the Switch is slow, like it's going full steam ahead through this fall and winter, and then kind of hitting the brakes a bit, like starting to pump the brakes at the beginning of 2024, where the launches are going to be much more spread out. It is known that, I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that there is a new Nintendo system in development. Like they'll keep denying it, but I think there was like Ubisoft, whatever. I pronounce it both ways. A Ubisoft like employee or representative or something that said like under oath something about like the specs of the next Nintendo hardware. I don't know if that was true or not. I don't follow rumors that heavily, but I think that was something that like outright kind of confirmed that it was something that's like should be on our radar, that could come out next year. I'm again guessing this is going to be the last big holiday for the Switch, and that next holiday is going to be focused on the new system, which means I should probably start saving my money. But it's a little annoying because I kind of wanted a PS5 sometime soon, but I guess I'll just keep putting off playing my PS4 games. I still haven't gotten to play The Last of Us because I don't have a PlayStation of my own, but I'll deal with it, I guess. But yeah, I think that kind of does it for the Nintendo Direct. There wasn't anything else of note that I can really remember. Like, there were a couple other, like, new announcements, but they weren't Nintendo, and they weren't anything, like, big, from what I remember. Okay, so, my favorite aspects of every season. This was just kind of an idea that I thought would be just a little unique to get away from the movies and the games and all that stuff. Just to talk a bit about, like, just random hobbies that I have and, like, stuff like that. Winter is kind of obvious. I'm just going to go from winter around the calendar to fall, because fall is my favorite season, so that's probably the one I'll talk about last. Winter, for one, I really like peppermint flavored stuff. Peppermint and eggnog flavored stuff is the GOAT. Like, I have a hard time because I really like fall and I really like winter. Winter, I hate the bitter cold living in Minnesota, and now I'm even further north. I'm almost in Canada, so it's gonna be a fat rip during winter when it's like I'm gonna be dying because it's cold, because I hate being cold. But I really like the winter season just in general, because Christmas is my favorite holiday of the year. Like, I am a pretty sentimental person. I may not show it a lot, but I really enjoy, like, getting gifts for people, like, surprising people with, like, I'll look for something specifically for them on, like, Etsy or something to be like, yeah, I know what you like. I pay attention. But it's my favorite it's my favorite, like, very specific time of the year. Like, my favorite season is fall, but my favorite, like, specific time of the year is when it's like mid-December and it's starting to get close to Christmas. Like, I really like Christmas lights. I really like peppermint flavored things. I really like gingerbread and all the cookies and all of the things that Christmas brings. I really like Christmas decor and just the spirit of, like, family during Christmas time. I really like, because the family that I have, I know people are not as fortunate as me, but I have a really close family. Like, we're very tight-knit for the most part, where pretty much my entire family lives in the same, like, community. Like, they all live, like, within an hour of, not within an hour, like within an hour and a half of each other. So it's like our family's very tight-knit and very close. So it's nice to get, and it's been like that since I was, like, a kid. So it's nice always to get to spend more time with them and stuff, especially since when I was a kid, it was like we would have gatherings, like, all the time. Like, it would be like, well, I can't remember specifics, but it was way more frequently than it is now, especially, like, COVID kind of halted that and slowed it down a lot. And when my grandparents got older, that kind of slowed things down as well, because, well, for one, my grandma passed away, but they always hosted everything, and now that my grandpa's on his own, he's not exactly going to be capable of hosting an entire, like, family gathering by himself. And no one, like, we've had a couple family members that are like try to step up and organize that sort of thing, and they at least do, like, Christmas and, like, the 4th of July and gatherings like that. But doing something like that is not for the faint of heart. Like, hosting a party takes a lot of preparation, but yeah, it's just slowed down a lot since then. But Christmas is definitely my favorite time of the year. But then you get into January and February, and that's where it starts to slow down. Like, January is probably legitimately my least favorite month of the year, because literally nothing happens, and it's kind of the most strenuous month, because teaching wise, even though I haven't had to teach through January, I student taught through January, but I haven't had to teach through January, but I've taken classes and everything through January. How many times am I going to say that month name? But it's definitely the most strenuous month, because you get the least amount of breaks. You could say the same about September, but September is the beginning, so you're kind of on a fresh set of legs. January, it's like you're just coming off of winter break, so you had a week break, but then you're just in the thick of it again, and the only day off you get is maybe Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Maybe. But I think the rule is, like, as long as your school talks about MLK during the day, then you can have school or something like. I don't know how it works. That was what I heard, but I'm not sure if that's right or not. But yeah, that's kind of what brings winter down for me. And then being in Minnesota, January is always bitter cold. Like, there's December cold, and then there's January cold, and January cold is just a different beast. Like, December is where you get kind of the beautiful snowy landscapes, and then January is where if you walk outside for more than, like, 3 minutes, you'll have your eyelids freeze closed. That legitimately happened to one of my friends one time when we were walking back from classes to our apartment. Her eyelids froze closed. So, yeah, it's not exactly a pleasant month. And then February is fine. It's got Valentine's Day, which is another kind of season of giving if you have a significant other. But... and then you also have President's Day, which is a day off, which is nice. And it's the shortest month of the year. I feel like people put too much stock in February being like short when it's really only like 2 or 3 days shorter than your average month. So it's like it's not that big of a difference. But yeah, I don't know. And then March is kind of where you transition into springtime. Springtime, I would say, is the most boring month. Like, especially being in Minnesota, we don't really get a real spring a lot of the time, and I'm sure it's worse up here. But in the springtime, we get, like, it's pretty much, it's cold, and then suddenly it's, like, back to summer, basically. Like, we've had blizzards through May before, and it's been, like, cold through the beginning of May, and then just suddenly transitioned into being, like, 60s, 70s. Yeah, I remember my 7th grade track season, we had 2 meets the entire year, because all of the other ones got snowed out. It was not ideal, I'll say, but, spring, I might just have the unfortunate, like, it might just be because I live in Minnesota, and we don't get really a real springtime, but it's just, like, spring was nice when I was a kid, because it's, like, it's related to Easter, but now Easter is probably, like, out of the major holidays, my least favorite. I'm not, like, a heavily religious person, so it's, like, it's not, like, that big of a thing for me to celebrate. It just feels like a worse Thanksgiving to me, with not as good of food. I prefer the fall food than what is usually served at an Easter meal, but... And then you have to, well, now I won't because I'm not living with my parents, but it's like after Easter, it's like you have egg salad every day because you got all those leftover eggs. But yeah, spring's an okay season, but it's like there's nothing that really defines it. Like, I guess if you're a gardener, that's like when you'd start, like, your garden, I guess, is in the spring, but that's like, it's not something I do. It's something that I'm interested in and I probably would do when I have my own house, but, like, it's not something I do now, living in an apartment, obviously. But I don't know. It's like there's nothing really seasonal that puts spring separate from winter and summer that much, typically. Sometimes we get a real spring and it's really nice, but it's few and far between here. Summer, obviously I really like because it's nice to get a bit of relaxation. I like to go to the pools and water parks and swim. It's usually time for vacation. It's time for fishing trips. 4th of July is a really fun season because it's the typical, like, grill out holiday, other than, like, Memorial Day. That's kind of another one, Memorial Day. And, yeah, Memorial Day and 4th of July really are the grill out holidays. But the 4th of July is the bigger one. And I do like fireworks, but after you've been to Disney World, fireworks kind of pale in comparison to that whole production. But it's still a fun time period. And like I said, I really enjoy the fishing trips my family takes. It's like, again, a nostalgia thing, but also just having that as a constant is super nice to be like, okay, in the summer we're going to take this fishing trip that we've taken every year. Like, it's like I know it's going to happen and I can look forward to it every year. Yeah, summer's super nice. August, not so much, because August is kind of where you start. Well, like for me, it's like when the prep starts for the school year is August, but like June and early July are really nice. And then once you get to the mid to late July area, that's when it starts to get really, really hot. And you're like dying as soon as you step outside. But it's fine. Summer is definitely not my favorite, but it's fine. But speaking of my favorite, fall is by far the best month because, again, fall colors are just so, there's something so serene about a fall landscape. Fall is my favorite month by far. The weather is always like perfect. Like now that I'm further up north, it's gotten colder way faster. Like right now, let me check my weather app. Right now it is, actually it's pretty warm today. It's 57 degrees right now and it's after dark. A couple days ago it got down to the 30s already. But I also really like the whole pumpkin spice thing. I know some people aren't a fan of it, but like, kind of like how I really like peppermint in the winter season, I really like pumpkin spice in the fall season. It's, again, like a constant that's always there. Sometimes we take a fishing trip in the fall as well. I'm hoping I can make it this year, but I might have like teacher meetings. However, my parents are going up north regardless, and for me, where they are staying is only like an hour and a half away. So it's not that big of a deal for me to just drive down and meet them there for a couple days. But yeah, it's a super just, I don't know, homey season. Homey might not be the word to describe it. Comfort. It just radiates comfort is what I'm trying to say. Like the season of fall, like the smell of fallen leaves, that pumpkin spice. Halloween is honestly a heavily underrated holiday as well. Like it's super fun. Like I'm a little old to like dress up, but it's still fun to try sometimes, or like look at costumes and point out how funny they look. And getting the discount Halloween I one time got the discount Halloween candy as soon as the clock turned to midnight at Walmart, and that's a time that I won't forget. Like my friends and I went to Walmart and just filled up a grocery cart full of candy and went and stalled until it was midnight and went and checked out so that we could get the discounts on them. Like as soon as the clock hit midnight, it was like everything was 50% off at least. And Thanksgiving as well. It's just, again, it's a family thing because my family is very close. I really like Thanksgiving, getting to spend time with family. And just because I really like the fall-themed food that is usually served at Thanksgiving. Like, I like roasted pumpkin seeds. I love pumpkin pie. I have ever since I was a kid. It's not my favorite pie, but it's definitely up there. I really like pumpkin pie. And, what else? There's something else. Cranberries. But cranberries can be kind of served year-round. It's just, traditionally cranberries are used as the, like, turkey topping for Thanksgiving, but I just eat them plain, like, right out of the can. I love me some cranberries. But, yeah, that's pretty much all that I have to say about the seasons. I hope you learned something interesting in that little spiel. Again, I just thought it would be interesting to kind of ramble about some of my interests. It is kind of funny just how much it's shifted now that I'm older. Like when I was a kid, summer was easily my favorite season because like summer was when you were off of school. You had more time to hang out with friends. We used to go to the parks to, like, I'm just remembering this now and I'm getting like, I don't know if anyone else has ever felt this, but like when you remember like a really fond memory, I get like nostalgia chills almost. Like I get like goosebumps, like remembering how much fun I had. Like I remembering that now because there were some, like it was a family friend that someone that my mom was friends with who had kids that were the same age as my sister and I that we would hang out with a lot. And we used to go for picnics at different parks randomly around southern Minnesota and get to hang out and eat together and talk and then go and play on the playground. And I have like really fond memories of doing that over the summer and just having more free time to play video games. And also I seem like a indoorsy nerd, but when I was like, I don't go out as much anymore just because I don't know. I still do like going on like walking trails if I can find them. It's just I don't know where they're at in the area I'm in right now. But when I was a kid, I used to go out in the backyard and just run around all the time and like bring my lightsabers out and have like play lightsaber battles with myself. And we used to have like the slip and slides where you'd like run and just belly flop and slide along the water. We used to have like a play sprinkler that we would run around through, my sister and I. I just remember a few times like having the slip and slide and like running around in bare feet, but like being very cautious as to avoid the bees that were in like the dandelions. But yeah, I have a lot of fond summer memories as a kid, but now it's changed because summer is when I'm just like bored. And I know like I don't firmly believe it, but I've learned that it's okay to be bored, especially as an adult. Like being bored isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's nice to be able to take yourself away from like electronics, take yourself away from everything and just sit for a bit to have some time to breathe and unwind. But still, I do miss the days when I was like small enough to be able to run around outside and have fun on the playground and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess that's gonna do it for this episode. Again, it's a bit on the shorter side, but I've come to realize, I say this every time, but so I probably don't need to, but I've come to realize like I'm not gonna be able to fill the time every single episode because I'm gonna start running out of things to talk about because I'm so focused on teaching now that I'm not really experiencing as many new things outside of my teaching. So I won't have as much like to talk about in the way of like reviewing games and movies and talking about music and stuff like that. But hopefully that starts up again in the future and the episodes can start to pick up a little bit time-wise. But I at least want to make sure I do make one of these every week regardless of if I have a lot to talk about or not. But that being said, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great week and you come back next week to join me for more True Talks. Peace out. Have a great one.